my name is Melissa and welcome to my channel. So today I'm going to be talking about the 17 books that I read in the month of September. I ended up completing the ContemporaryAThon, which I will talk about at the very end of the video for the books that I completed for that. And also they are mowing the lawn outside my window, so if you can hear that, I do apologize. It's very frustrating. And so I have a bunch of books to get to, so let's go ahead and get started. So the very first book that I finished up in September was Ash Princess by Laura Sebastian. This was a very trope heavy book, but that being said, I really thoroughly enjoyed this read. So this book is about a girl named Thora who is the rightful queen of the land. Basically, when she was a little girl, an invading country came in and men from there ended up killing her mother right in front of her eyes. She was taken kind of hostage, where she is known as the Ash Princess now, due to the fact that she has to wear a crown made of ashes anytime she's kind of in the public eye, just really showing, you know, that she is not the leader of this country. She is basically just ashes. Yeah, so this definitely, like I said, is trope heavy. The tropes include a girl who wants to avenge her mother, take back the throne, there's a cringy love triangle, and a domineering evil villain who is trying to take over the world. So all of those included. But like I said, it is so much fun. I definitely read this in about a day and a half. Probably could have finished this in about a day, just because it was so fast paced. I was just flipping through the pages to find out what was going to happen next. Really did enjoy it, even though it was very trope heavy. The second book I ended up finishing was Turn of the Key by Ruth Ware. This is a thriller novel that I really enjoyed. I gave it 5 stars. So it's about a girl named Rowan who really desperately needs the money. She ends up finding this ad to become a nanny for these kids in Scotland in this kind of like isolated house. The people who own the house actually are architects, so they kind of like infiltrated new technology and all these different things into this house. But that being said, the past nannies who have lived in the house, something's happened where everybody ends up, you know, fleeing, and it's just kind of crazy. You don't really know why these women and these girls are leaving, you know, what's going on. So this story starts off, it's kind of told in this like letter format, which was really interesting, where Rowan is begging the help of a solicitor to help her get off, you know, because she didn't do it, and she's claiming her innocence. So I flew through this novel, read it in one day, and it was just the perfect time. I read it when it was rainy. It was just like the perfect reading weather. And definitely, I think if you are thinking about picking this book up, you know, during the autumn, fall months, this is a really great one. Dark Dawn by Jay Kristoff is the third book in the Nevernight Chronicles, and of course I had to pick this up on audiobook because that's how I read the first 2, and I absolutely loved when I was reading this book. The format, the narrator is absolutely amazing, really brings Kristoff's writing to life, and just the way he's able to portray the different characters and the different voices, I really highly enjoyed. That being said, this I felt was not the best conclusion to the story. Unfortunately, something happened in the second book that kind of carried over into the third, and I was really excited, and something that I was hoping to happen didn't ever happen, and just it kind of ended on a way that I personally didn't enjoy. One of the main characters just really frustrated me, and I just, I don't know, very upset about that ending. But either way, it was still a really great read, a lot of fun. Still strongly stand by the first novel and most of the second for sure, but I really wish this had ended a different way. But that being said, the writing was still absolutely amazing. I really enjoyed the similes and the metaphors and the descriptive writing, and I really fell in love with it, and I know it's not for everybody. So one thing to note, if you're going to pick up the audiobook, it is told with a man's voice, and it's about a girl, so it's kind of a little bit weird, especially there's some like steamy scenes, especially in the first one. When you go into it, it's like, whoa, this is kind of awkward, but you get used to it, and I didn't really have too much of a problem with it. So the first book is about a girl who wants to get revenge on the people who murdered her family, and really it's about her, you know, finding her way into this assassin school and really just learning, and I really enjoyed that. It was so much fun. The second book is about her being like a gladiator and in gladiator school, and this one is more of the revenge plot, and it kind of all coming together. So it was definitely a very interesting read. I, you know, flew through this one as well, finished it about in a day and a half. I'm very glad that I finally finished this trilogy. It was a lot of fun. even if I didn't like the last one in the ending, but that's okay. So I'm very happy to say I was able to finish a book for my big book reading challenge, and that would be Words of Radiance by Brandon Sanderson. I loved this book so much. It was a great second installment to the series. Love the characters even more. I love getting to see where they're going and, you know, really expanding on the world as well. And I ended up closing this book and really wanting to pick up the next book. If you don't know what this book is about, it is like a multi-point of view story, and it's about a slave, a thief, a general, a prince. You get all these different point of views, which aren't that many to be quite honest, but you're able to keep it in order. It's based in these things called the Shattered Plains, which has these things called high storms. If you're left out in them, you could die. The way that Brandon Sanderson writes this story, it may look very daunting because of how big it is, but honestly, it's extremely digestible. The writing style is very easy to get into. It might seem a bit intimidating, but if you're thinking about picking it up, please do. Definitely worth the read, and I can't wait to get on with the next one. The next book I ended up picking up was Hated You Then by M. Robinson. This was a review, an ARC review that I did, and I freaking loved this book. I really love this author, and she's just so sweet. Talked to her, you know, on Instagram and things like that. And I even was able to give her an editorial review, so it's up on Amazon, which is like actually really cool because who would have thought? So this book is about a girl named Harley, and she is the daughter of the president of this MC. She's tough, take no crap from anybody, kind of this big personality who expresses herself through fashion. Jackson, the love interest, is this hotshot quarterback who just really, something irks him about Harley, and he always tries to pick on her and just really wants to make her cry, basically. It's just like, he just doesn't know how to deal with his feelings. This had so much funny banter and wittiness. Every time the two characters were together in a room, they just couldn't not start fighting. There's more than just a romance between the two characters. There's also a lot of different family dynamics and, you know, love within the family, and there's also heartbreak and healing and all this different kind of stuff that, you know, really got to me. This book did end up on a huge cliffhanger, and I absolutely cannot wait till November. I believe it's November when the next book comes out and I can finally finish this duet because it was really good. The next book that I picked up was The Wall of Winnipeg by Mariana Zapata. This is of course a slow burn romance, and it's very well loved, and I don't know why I put it down and never picked it back up, but I'm so glad I gave it another chance. So this is a sports romance as well, hate to love, and just all the good tropes that I thoroughly enjoy. So this is about a girl named Vanessa who's worked for Aiden as his personal assistant for like 2 years. He's a very demanding person. He has particular quirks, like he's a vegan, and he's one of the biggest, you know, NFL stars and all this kind of stuff, and she ends up saying, I quit, and wants to go work on her digital marketing and media kind of stuff that she has going on. So randomly one day after she quits, Aiden shows up at her apartment and says that, hey, I will pay off all your student loans and buy you a house if you agree to marry me, so that way he can get his visa and be able to, or his green card, so he can live in the US. This is kind of a, you know, marriage of convenience as well, and you see them kind of like come together, and it's so cute. Oh my goodness, I was dying. I love this book. It's so long but so good, and just makes it absolutely worth it when you finally get to the end and they finally get together. So definitely one to pick up. It's very popular, well loved, and I don't think you'll be disappointed. I ended up reading the first 2 books in the Sinful Surrender Quartet, and I read these through NetGalley. You're like automatically approved for them, and I ended up having to stop after the second one. So these books sounded really interesting. It's about a girl named Belle who wants to take revenge after her parents' murders. She doesn't believe that it was an accident, a murder-suicide by her father like everybody else believes. So she only ever trusts 2 people, and that's Xander, who ended up saving her life when she was a young girl, and her boss Alex. So I thought this was really interesting. The plot was interesting. There was a lot of suspense and kind of trying to figure out, you know, what happened and the mystery aspect. But unfortunately, Belle's character just, I couldn't stand her. She was a witch with a B, and just everything was so annoying. She just kept saying no when in reality she didn't mean it, and it just like, I don't know, I just couldn't get behind her character at all. and it was very frustrating. So I ended up DNFing the series at 2 books and just leave it at that. So I ended up completing the 4 books in Faye's Captive series. First 4 books are about the same set of characters. So it's about a girl who's in college and something happens where her roommate ends up drugging her or something, and she ends up waking up in the Fae realm and she has no idea what's going on. She thinks it's a dream at first. So it's a Fae story and a love story, fated mates type thing. It was a lot of fun. I really did enjoy it. I actually picked it up because Jessica from Peace Love Books ended up reading it and suggesting it. So I read the first 4, binged them in like a day and a half. So they're really quick, very easy to read. There are a lot of, cliffhangers that make you want to keep reading. And I'm excited to read the next, couple in the series and see what they're all about. So I did end up finishing all the prompts for the Contemporary-a-thon, but I changed the last 2 books to some ebooks, and yeah. Definitely switched some things around because after the second book I read, I needed a change and I moved things around. The very first book that I finished for the Contemporary-a-thon was Intercepted by Alexa Martin. This was one of my most anticipated reads for this readathon, and I had a lot of fun. It is a diverse sports romance about a girl who was dating a NFL player. She had dated him for like 10 years through high school. Yeah, he cheated on her, so she said, bye, I'll see you later, and kind of swore off all, NFL players. So obviously that doesn't go as planned because she ends up meeting the new quarterback, or re-meeting him, and it was a lot of fun. I really did enjoy this. The witty banter, the style of writing was easy to get into, but there's 2 things that kind of bothered me, and one of those is the catty women characters. So of course you have women with money, women who are dating these big NFL stars, and they're very catty, they're very, they act like young teenagers when really they're in their 20s, they're supposed to be married. I do understand that people do act like this, but I don't think it was necessarily needed. The second thing is the use of hashtags in this novel. Almost on every other page there was a hashtag, which is fine. I understand we use them, in Twitter, on Instagram, all those different things, but it was in her internal dialogue. It made the narrator and the main character kind of just seem really young and immature, which, wasn't really needed. So the next book was unfortunately a huge miss for me, and that was Ruin and Rule by Pepper Winters. So I ended up giving this book 1 star, and I was highly anticipating this. I loved the cover. I thought it was going to be a great MC romance. There's like hardly any MC related material. He just happens to be in an MC, or he's like the president. There's abuse to the main character by the male love interest, and just absolutely couldn't get behind that. So the main character, she has amnesia and doesn't remember her past, but for some reason, as soon as her blindfold comes off, she sees this man and just has this instant connection to him and knows she knows him from somewhere, but just can't figure it out. When I went into this, I thought it was going to be a really interesting hate to love, I need protection type MC story. No, definitely completely wrong. I really didn't like this. I don't really want to go too much into it, but like I said, hardly any MC, abuse to the main character, and just wasn't my jam. So unfortunately, it didn't work. So next I read the first 2 books in the Hillcrest University series. The 3rd one just recently came out at the beginning of October, and I don't know how I felt about this. It was kind of interesting. It was more slow burn, reverse harem. The main character, she ends up going to this university. Again, it's more like a lot of the other ones I've read, where she's the only girl in this male-only university, which seemed kind of weird. So they're trying to test out to see how well girls can integrate into the school, so she gets chosen. She ends up rooming with a guy as well, which I don't think would have happened to begin with. There's 3 different guys that kind of, have her attention or want her attention, and they're all very different. One of them is very shy, kind of depressed. Another one is the bad boy, kind of like sociopath, psychopath. And another one is kind of like big party boy. I did enjoy the book. There's kind of this constant undercurrent that the main character is hiding something and you just don't really know what it is. You're kind of getting hints throughout the book. The first 2 were pretty good. The 3rd one, was starting to get a little bit better and ended up on a cliffhanger. So I'm definitely interested in seeing, what is going to happen next. The very last book I read for the Contemporary-a-thon is Park Avenue Player by Penelope Ward and Vi Keelan. This is an author duo that I actually ended up DNFing some of their other books and reading some of the other ones. But this one was pretty cute. I gave it 3 stars. It wasn't something that like wowed me or anything like that, but I really did enjoy how these 2 characters met, and it's through a car accident, and one of them was trying to back into a spot, the other was trying to go forward, and it was kind of a disaster meeting. So it turns out she's running late for an interview to become a nanny for, you know, this girl who's like 12 years old, and the guy who is trying to hire her ends up being the guy she got in a car crash with. So it's a billionaire romance set in New York type style, and it was really cute. I really loved, you know, seeing the girl and, you know, her kind of coming into her own and just the relationship together. Gave it 3 stars. It was kind of average, but it was still really cute and definitely enjoyed it. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching my September wrap up. Again, I read 17 books, quite a lot, and I finished my Contemporary-a-thon on a pretty big note, and very happy that I was able to finish it and actually, you know, complete it, because I feel like my past readathons have been a bit of a fail. But that being said, if you've read any of these books or have any thoughts or opinions on it, I would love to hear about it and chat about it in the comments down below. And I hope you have a great day and happy reading. Bye!